Good day everyone, I am Elshara Emnis and I am the second reporter. I will be discussing the global village and cultural imperialism. First, let us talk about the global village. McLuhan conceptualized the global village as a state in which everyone would be more reliant on cutting-edge technologies. According to this definition, being connected does not always imply being physically close to someone. Social media and other technologies, however, allow people to access the same information and exchange experiences. First, kani si McLuhan guys, or should I call Marshall McLuhan. He was a Canadian communication theorist or educator or an English professor. He is best known for his work, The Media Theory, which he studied how media and technology affect the way people communicate, think, interact with each other. So, conceptualize ni McLuhan ang global village, which he means that all people around the world become more dependent on advanced technologies, or what we call the cutting edge technologies like smartphones, computers, the internet, and social media. So, according to the definition, being connected to each other doesn't mean that you are always near to each other. Because of technology, we can be connected and we can communicate each other because of the advanced technologies today. Like example, ani kay maka video call, maka talk na ka sa imong friends like in the US or any countries like that. Even if you are far apart or even if you are far from each other, you can still be connected. Not by distance, but by the technology. Social media and other technologies, however, allow people to access the same information exchange experiences. So, social media and other digital platforms allows us to access the same information. That means person here in the Philippines and someone in other countries can watch the same news, can watch the same TikTok, or can nakabaw sila sa mga TikTok trends, or even join the same online classes like atong gibuhat ron nga even if lagyo ta, we can connected with each other through this social media or the internet. Also, through social media and other technologies, we can exchange experiences by communicating each other or by posting through social media. These platforms are powerful tools that people can use to express themselves and change the world. The internet has evolved into a useful tool for facilitating communication these days. In addition, it has made it possible for people to communicate, educate others, express their opinions, and even create social groups with individuals who live far away from them. These platforms are also powerful tools nga naman because they give us the chance to express ourselves, to share our opinions, ideas, and also and even to influence the change in the world. So think of how people use social media to promote awareness about the mental health, about the climate change, about the news, and and also to help during calamities. But these platforms have a positive and negative impact. Positive because we can communicate, we can express ourselves through social media, and we can be aware of what is happening in the world. But there are also negative impacts of the social media. First, because the young people is kanang nalulong na sila sa social media, which can really affect their mental health, and also sige na lang sila kanang social media, ganang makasundog sila sa mga dili dapat sundon, sa mga especially sa mga minor pa lang. So example na siya, and then mo to siya ang negative impact. Even if we know that these platforms is very useful to us, but we need to limit ourselves, so that it so that it can't affect our uh, lives, kay kanang especially sa mga karon nga panahon, kanang grabe na jud ang technology, di ba? Sa mga advanced technologies, like especially sa mga students, that even if kana bitong sige na lang sila cellphone, sige na lang sila kanang through cellphone na lang sila magsalig bitaw, through internet na lang sila magsalig, like nga na. So dapat ato jud limitahan natong kaugalingon, so that we should have self-respect. Okay? So mao to siya. One important aspect of global village is its technological interconnectedness, according to Traub 2023. He means that people around the world are now connected through technology, especially in the internet, in the social media, in the cell phones, and in computers. So even if we live in different countries or places, we can still talk to each other instantly through chat and through video calls. And we can also access the same information or the same news at the same time. And we can also communicate, and we can also be together in work, or we can be connected through work, and we can also play together online. So technological interconnected is what makes the global village possible, because as what I said, interconnectedness, meaning we can be connected through technology. We can be connected with each other through technology. That's what makes the global village possible. So without it, people wouldn't be able to communicate easily. So, in short guys, McLuhan's idea of global village is that the human or we human are all connected by technology. Even if we are far apart from each other, we can still connected. And these tools let us share information, experiences, and even our opinions with people all over the world, no matter how far we are. So the internet really made us easily to communicate, to learn, and even create online social groups with people we never met before. So technology is what truly brings this global village together, connecting us all in powerful new ways. So technology is the main force that bringing this global village together. So that's what global village mean. Now, let's talk about the cultural imperialism, which is another effect of globalization, especially through media. So, cultural imperialism is the practice of one powerful country or culture spreading or dominating the culture of another, often weaker country, usually through media, language, products, fashion, or beliefs. It happens when people in one country starts to adopt the lifestyle, the values, or media of another culture so much so their own country or their own culture's country begins to fade or begins to be forgotten. So example ani kay sa Philippines, we Filipinos usually watch some movies to like the K-drama, for the Korean drama, for Chinese drama, or for American drama. And the effect of that is our Filipino film will be put aside, like mawala mura bitaw siya makalimtan na noon kay nag-focus sa lain nga movies sa lain country, so our culture or our film industry will be forgotten. Also, if we also for the foods, we usually eat sa McDonald's or KFC, right? So if kana nga na mo count og mga pang foreign food, so our Filipino food will also be forgotten. So it really have a negative effects of the cultural imperialism. However, it has also positive effect because in this way we can also try their cultures which really help us to experience their cultures. So, mo to siya. Comparable to the neo-Marxist viewpoint, the cultural imperialist viewpoint emphasizes the drawbacks of media globalization. So this means that both the neo-Marxist and cultural imperialist viewpoints that this is very critical of media globalization because they both talk about the negative effect that happen when media from powerful countries spreads across the world. So nagtalk ang both viewpoints, the neo-Marxist and cultural imperialist, meaning aning neo or modern. Okay? So kaning neo-Marxist is nag-focus siya kung unsaon paggamit or focus on how powerful countries and companies use media kung saan gamiton ng media to control the economy and to maintain their power. So that's the focus of the neo-Marxist, while the cultural imperialist focuses on how this media spreads foreign culture which can weaken or erase local culture. So kaning cultural imperialist kay kato laging mga cultures nga ilang gi-spread through all over the world through any other countries which can weaken or which can lose our local cultures. So in short, both viewpoints warn us that media globalization is not always good, but it has also negative effects and it can cause inequality and loss of cultures. Cultural imperialism defines globalization through media as the process through which American culture and values are imposed on other regions of the world. Another term for this is Americanization. So cultural imperialism says that globalization is being used to spread American culture to the rest of the world. Pinaagi sa media like sa TV, sa internet, sa social media, or sa movies. And ang tawag ani is Americanization, which means that ang mga tao sa lain-laing nasod kay murag ilan na bitong they follow the American ways or American culture bisan dili ilahang culture even though na sila ilang own culture. So that's what we call Americanization. So example ani sa Philippines is nasa daghang mga Americanization, tawag nga mga Americanization. Daghang sa Filipinos almost people like to eat hamburger or hotdog kaysa sa local foods sa Pinoy. Unya, isa ka example is they prefer to watch Hollywood movies rather than their own local movies. And then also sad example sad ani kay kanang they kana bitong ilang gigamit or they use English language rather than their own dialect or rather than their own language, which is example sa Philippines is Tagalog or Bisaya. So kanin siya is that's what we call Americanization. Kanang murag nagamit ka sa American culture even though you have your own culture so as a result of Americanization, their own local cultures may fade or may be forgotten. Cultural imperialists also take into account the detrimental political effects of globalization. So meaning aning detrimental guys means causing harm or damage. Okay? Digital data has saved many lives, but with increased data tracking and surveillance, political powers can use this data globally for corrupt practices. So cultural imperialists kuno guys don't just focus on the loss of culture. but they also look at the negative political effects of globalization. It's like example, example ani is what even if the digital data and technology can help us in many ways, but by the governments they use this for surveillance or corruptions or by spying. And then people can now learn about various cultures around the world thanks to the globalization. So because of the globalization of media, it also makes us easy for people um to be influenced by other cultures, especially in the American culture. So, tungod sa globalization of media, dali rata maka-adapt or dali rata maka-learn sa other cultures because kay makita man siya nato sa through media, and then we can easily adapt it to ourselves. And then, this has made it easier for them to adapt to new cultures spreading as a result of globalization. So, a Hollywood production is screened not only in the US but also in other cities throughout the world. Other nationals may also take pleasure in singing and listening to American ways. So, examples sa ani gatong Hollywood movies are Hollywood movies are shown not just in the US but in many countries, and people around the world love to listen American music. So but cultural imperialists worry that this might lead to the slow disappearance of local cultures. So, cultural imperialism is when powerful country spreads its own culture, like its language, music, food, fashion, values, to weaker or smaller countries, often through because of media. So over time, people in other countries start copying or adapting that culture, and that leads to disappearance of their own local culture. So kaning cultural imperialism is they have advantages and disadvantages, or also called negative or positive effect. So for the positive effects, uh, we can experiences or we can learn new culture of other countries. But the negative is our own local cultures will be weakened, or it may replace to other local countries, which leads to be forgotten. So that's what we called cultural imperialism. And that will be all for my reports. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Janine Ling Vergarap. So my assigned topic is all about critics of cultural imperialism. Cultural imperialism is criticized by many who contend that it undervalues the agency, free will, and choice of the target audience. Tomlinson, 2001, it fails to recognize that an individual's background and frame of reference can affect how they process and interpret information. Organ, 1988, consequently, even though cultural identity is arguably multifaceted and deeply internalized, it also presumes that culture is static and non-fluid. It ignores the concept of cultural resistance, which holds that oppressive structure and those is positions of power can be challenged via culture. In this case, Western culture, CNN, and other Western media outlets can control the news narrative in later half of the 20th century and exclusively presented Western perspectives on global affairs. SIB 2011, as a result, news organizations such as Al Jazeera provided an alternative viewpoint to the Western one and provided a voice to cultures that had no voice before. Sib 2011, one called contend that the Al Jazeera effect demonstrates the agency and cultural resistance of people who are generally target and cultural imperialism. So, ang cultural imperialism or ang pagpangibabaw sa kultura sa ubang nasod is wa gipaminaw sa kanang ubang tao kay para nila is mas maayo to nga culture sa uban. So, nag-ingon pod nga walay rights or freedom o pagpili ang mga tao nga target sa ilahang mensahe. So, ang mga eksperto nag-ingon nga dili tanang tao is pareho o paagi sa pagsabot sa impormasyon tungod kay lahi-lahi ta og background or experience. Pero dili po nato dapat hunaw-naon nga ang kultura usara ka porma kay pwede ni siya mag lahi-lahi or mag-usab-usab. Gipasabot usab nga pinaagi sa kultura is pwede nato barugan og supakon ang mga leader nga nagdala og pagpang-abuso. So, ang CNN o Cable News Network o uban pang Western media sa 20th century is sila ray halos nagkontrol sa balita og ilang ipakita kasagaran ra kay mga balita sa kanluran. Ang Al Jazeera usa ka non-Western news outlet. Nakahatag og tingog sa mga kultura nga walay tingog kaniadto. Kini gitawag nga Al Jazeera effect nga nagpakita nga bisan na mga gipasipala or gidaog-daog sa kulturang Western, nagihapon sila right nga makabutar sa ilahang kaugalingong kultura. The U.S. foreign policy of advancing gay rights internationally is another example of undervaluing the audience. Although it hasn't been very successful, the U.S. government has spent more than $315 million since 2012 to support gay rights in Sub-Saharan Africa. In 2015, given that the U.S. government is attempting to export its cultural values to nations with radically different values and beliefs, one could argue that this is cultural imperialism. Obama offended Kenya officials in July 2015 when he disregarded their advice not to advance a gay agenda, telling them that homosexual rights were a non-issue in their country. Many also believe that Nigeria's stringent anti-gay laws passed in 2014 were a response to pressure from the U.S. and the U.S. government to accept gay rights in Nigeria. This demonstrates the detrimental effects of cultural imperialism on international relations and communication, as well as the existence of free will and cultural resistance in those nations where it is practiced. The government and people of Nigeria firstly oppose U.S. American ideals, not believing them to be true. So, sa laing bahin is gisulti pod ang policy sa US nga pagpalapad or pagpakatag sa katungod sa LGBTQ+. Sa lain-laing country sama sa nasod sa Sub-Saharan Africa usapod kaporma sa cultural imperialism. Ang US is nigasto na sila og more than $350 million since pag 2012 para lang suportahan ang gay rights. Apan giingon nga sa ilahang pagpaningkamot nga patuman ang ilahang mga idea o culture, ilang gi-ignore ang ilahang kaugalingong culture or pamatasan sa mga nasod sama sa Kenya o Nigeria. Example, sa Kenya pag July 2015 is wala nila gipaminaw ni Obama ang tambag sa ilahang leader nga ayaw nga dili isulong Dili isulong ang gi-agenda kay non-issue ra kini sa ilahang country. Sa Nigeria sab, ang ilahang balaod batok sa homosexuality gisugdan pag 2014 kay tungod kay na pressure na sila gikan sa US. So nagpasabot kini nga kung ipugos ang usa ka culture sa laing nasod or laing country nga lahi sila og tinuohan or lahi sila og pagtuo is mao ni sila ang gitawag mao na ni ang gitawag nato nga cultural imperialism. So kini pod is nakadaot ni siya sa relasyon sa lain nga country kay nagpakita nga dili basta-basta ang free will kung ang usa ka kultura or usa ka culture is ipugos sa lain. So ang katawhan sa Nigeria is nagpamatuod nga ilahang gisupak ang idea sa US kay wa sila nito nga kato nga culture nga gikuan sa US nga culture kay katong gay rights is wa nila gi-adapt kay para nila is dili to angay sa ilahang country. That's all for my topic and thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Banji O. Batagal and my topic is all about social media and the creation of cyber ghettos. But first, let's define what is social media. Social media refers to the platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And these platforms allow people to engage in virtual communities where they can produce, share, and exchange ideas and information. And it is a tool that connects people across vast distances by its nature, and it helps foster a global culture where ideas, trends, and even values can be shared instantly worldwide. For example of this is a trending topic on Twitter, or a viral video in YouTube can be seen in different corners of the globe within hours, influencing public opinions and creating a sense of shared global identity. And technology plays a big role in this with the rise of smartphones and internet. Social media networks have become central to how we communicate. They open up new opportunities for sharing ideas and connecting with others. However, some scholars believe that social media is speeding up this process, leading to cultural homogeneity. This means that as we connect more globally, we start to see the same trends and influences everywhere. As with all new media, social media have both beneficial and negative effects. These media have enabled users to be consumers and producers of information simultaneously. And one of the great things about social media is we can easily access to information. Anyone with internet connection or a smartphone can use these platforms for free, and this means that users can create and consume information simultaneously, giving everyone a voice. However, social media also had a dark side. Social media can lead to fragmentation, a phenomenon we see in concepts like splinternet and cyber-balkanization. This refers to an internet divided by national borders, where each country enforces its own rules and restrictions on online content. One of the examples of this is what they call China's Great Firewall. China has a heavily regulated internet censorship and controls, creating distinct online environment with limited access to information from the rest of the world. As a result, Chinese internet users experience a version of the internet that's entirely different from that of other users in other countries. And this leads us to the idea of cyber ghettos. These are online spaces where specific groups or communities are separated from others because of common interests, identities, or beliefs. Cyber ghettos are digital areas that mirror or even worsen an existing social divide, such as those based on race, political views, or economic status. They foster an environment where people mostly engage with others who think like them, reducing their chances of encountering different viewpoints. People in power can exploit these echo chambers. They know that when users are isolated and their beliefs, it can lead to herd mentality. Politicians with undemocratic intentions can take advantage of this to manipulate public opinion. One of the examples of this is seen in Russia, where reports have indicated that Russian operatives allegedly hired by Vladimir Putin's administration used social media to spread false information to sway public opinion. And this shows how easily misinformation can spread on social media due to the lack of content filters. That's why, as a consumer of media literacy is really important. We must learn to distinguish between the truth and a fiction in a world that often accepts alternative facts. Where information is abundant and not always accurate, we need to be cautious about what we consume and share online.